It is 6 o'clock in the PM in the Eastern Caribbean. That makes it 5 o'clock in Jamaica and 4 p.m. in Belize. Good afternoon and welcome to this Facebook Live edition of Let's Talk Access, a social media program produced and presented by the UWI Open Campus. I am your host, Cleveland Sam. Thank you for joining us wherever you are on the globe this evening. Today, we talk about the Doctor of Education Leadership program offered by the UWI Open Campus. I have four very special guests with us this afternoon, this evening, and let me introduce them to you, starting with our colleague from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Janelle Allen. Hi, Janelle.
Good evening. Hi, I'm fine, thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me.
All right. Hailing from Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, Dr. Kurt McKenzie. Hi, Kurt, you're muted.
Hey, thank you for having me, Dr. Sam. It's great being on this evening. I'm looking forward to this. God bless you all.
All right. From Barbados, Dr. Caroline Woodruff Holder. Good afternoon.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, Dr. Sam. Thanks for having me. I look forward to being on the program.
All right. And our friend from South America, Dr. Paulette Henry from Guyana. How are you doing?
Hi, Dr. Sam. It's a pleasure to be here. I am fine. It's good to be with my colleagues, and I am truly looking forward to having this conversation.
Okay, great stuff. So good to see everybody in one place, virtual once again. This is the Open Campus. What can I say? Correct. So I want to start with you, Janelle. You're in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I mean, you have been in the news. I mean, you have to be living in Mars not to know. And I guess even the Martians have probably found out by now.
I think they do know, yes.
Yes, that there's a volcanic eruption in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and it's actually affecting us here in Barbados and in St. Lucia and in Grenada and other places. What has been your experience so far?
Well, it has been an experience, first off. The last couple of days have been really trying for persons, especially those who are inhabitants of the red zone. Well, right now, the entire country has felt the effects of the eruption. I can safely say that no matter what zone you're living in, you would have had some significant ashfall, compromised air quality, and everybody, it's really good to see everybody with all hands on deck trying to get help out to the shelters, trying to mobilize efforts to assist persons who have been displaced. Right now, we have had a pretty peaceful day, if I might say so myself. We're at the stage of pyroclastic flow. So the ashfall is not as thick as it was over the last few days, over the weekend, but still some ash all around. Still have to mask up and cover your eyes when you're going out. But the efforts really are now concentrated on helping persons who are in the shelters.
Right. And you, I assume, are in the green zone and you're safe?
Well, I am in the green zone currently, yes. And I am physically safe, yes.
So this is your first time experiencing the eruption of a volcano?
It is. I've heard about it all my life, about the cauliflower smoke, but I tell you, nothing compared to seeing it firsthand on Friday, seeing, the smoke rise up into the sky before my eyes, seeing the ash fall, smelling the sulfur. I mean, we read about it in geography, we've studied it all our lives, but to experience it, nothing compared.
Wow. All right. And for our viewers, I just want to let you know that tomorrow evening, Tuesday, the 13th, is actually the anniversary of the 1979 eruption, of which I also experienced as an 8-year-old kid. Tomorrow, the University of the West Indies and the Open Campus, in conjunction with UWI will be hosting a live program right here on the Open Campus Facebook page and YouTube, but also on UWI along with the principal of the Open Campus, along with the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, along with Professor Robertson, who is the lead on this in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as well as the Vice Principal of the Open Campus, Dr. Francis Severin. And I said the principal, Dr. Longsworth. So tomorrow we have a date at 7 p.m. Eastern Caribbean time on UWTV on the Open Campus platforms, where we're going to be discussing the university's response to the eruption in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But today, this evening, we are all talking about the Doctor of Education. And once again, let me congratulate you, ladies and gentlemen, on completing this program. You guys started in 2000, well, some of you started in 2015, the first cohort. Among you guys, who are from the first cohort?
I am.
Right, Janelle?
Mhm. And I'm 2016.
And okay, Caroline is 2016.
I'm also from 2016.
All right. And Kurt?
I'm 20.
All right, we missed what Kurt said, but I think
15.
he was
I'm from the first cohort.
right. So you and Janelle are from the first cohort, and Caroline and Paulette. All right, so that's even.
Yes.
And I'm the broker
Yes.
here. I'm from the first cohort in 2015 as well. So graduation was just a couple months ago for most of you, a couple of weeks ago for two of us. How was completing the journey? How was it when you actually got that completion letter that said, you are now Dr. XYZ? Let's start with you, Caroline.
You're picking on me. For me, it was a chance to breathe. Actually going through the program, juggling work, family, and so on, it was a challenge. It was not unachievable, but it was a challenge. So it was a chance to breathe a little, sleep a little more if possible. But I really look forward to receiving that letter, and it was a sigh of relief, mostly because the journey was practically over, really.
All right, Janelle.
I think it was surreal for me. When I went and picked up the letter from Open Campus, it was a Friday morning, I can't forget. You know, I sat in the vehicle and I was reading it, and all the years you're studying, you never really think about the final completion letter that says Dr. Janelle Allen. And I think that was a really gratifying moment and one that I will remember, definitely.
All right. What about you, Kurt? All right. Yeah.
Well, there were tears of joy. I've been on this road for 10 years, maybe 11, since I started Open Campus, when I started with the Bachelor Education program in secondary mathematics. So for me, I did it straight. I did the degree, then I did the master's, and I didn't wait. I just went straight ahead into the doctoral program. So, I took a deep breath, I exhaled and I wept tears of joy because, it was a tremendous sacrifice for those around me, my family, my loved ones, because they saw that I got addicted to academia, They noticed that I was really into UA, and, this really meant a lot. This really meant a lot to me, man, and I love it, and I'm really thrilled by it, and I'm still.
All right, we have been a little bit of technical difficulties there with Kurt, but let's go to Paulette from Guyana. Paulette, when you received that letter, what was the emotion like?
Excitement. I think that sums it up for me because it's something that I have been wanting to do for a while. And there were many stops and starts in my academic journey until I was able to complete at UB. So for me, it was that sense of personal satisfaction, excitement, celebration, and all the good things that the folks are also saying here rolled into one. And I'm a big girl, and when big girls get an opportunity to attain their dreams, you just, it was really exciting.
I think it was surreal for me. When I went and picked.
All right. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. That was the end when you got that letter, that all important letter. Let's start from the beginning. So the EdD was advertised first, I think, in 2015, and there were 2 tracks. Can you talk to me about the track that you decided to do and why?
I chose higher education leadership, Kurt, and I chose that because I have been in administrative positions, even though I am a professional social worker and I taught in the Faculty of Social Sciences. I have moved into university leadership and administration. And hence, when this came on board, it was kind of like necessary. In addition to that, our university had been going through some, some different stages. And I think this course, this program, I should say, positioned me to be, one of the leaders within the university community. So I was both teaching and leading, and this was my choice.
Okay, great.
Like Paulette, I did the higher education leadership strand. I was at the time working with the St. Vincent de Grenadines Community College. I was at the Vice Dean at the Division of Technical Education at the time. And in addition to lecturing, my substantive post was that of Vice Dean. So, all my administrative duties, and so it just made sense. It was something that complemented my everyday duties at the time.
Okay. I'm not going to call Caroline because I want to say I'm picking on her, but you're next.
Well, for me, my educational background is a bit more diversified. I would have been a librarian for 25 years or thereabouts. But apart from that, I would have also have completed a master's in education administration. So at the time when I started the program, I was then working as assistant registrar at a community college. So I saw it as an avenue for not only for upward mobility, but also to hone my skills as an educational leader. And so I did the higher educational leadership track.
Okay. Kurt? All right, I'm not sure if Kurt is hearing us. All right, so let's move on then. So the experience for you, how was this experience? 4 years for most of you. As you said, studying, spending a lot of time, sacrifices. How do you sum up this experience?
I'd go first. For me, the experience was a learning experience, both in terms of the material that was covered and the ability for me to manage my personal and work-related life. And, at the time, like I mentioned in the previous interview, I was pregnant when I started the program with my second child. And, there were days when it was very difficult, having to manage work responsibilities, 2 young children on the 3, and still maintaining one's sanity. So I think the program taught me the discipline of time management, of prioritizing, and putting my trust really first in God. And I think that is what really got me through, because I'm a solid Christian, and I strongly believe had it not been for a deep faith and an ability to focus and really center prioritize, the journey would not have been, as successful as it ultimately was.
All right, awesome. And you have a really good story I want you to share with us later on, Janelle. I'm
No
keeping
problem.
that as the trump card, okay? Yeah, Kurt?
What Janelle spoke to about discipline is really important, because I think for all of us, that common thread
Hey, Cleveland, I'm hearing you. I wasn't hearing you for a while.
All right, so you can come in after Paulette is finished. Paulette was giving a contribution.
Yeah, I just want to pick up from what Janelle said in terms of discipline, because that was, I think, the crux or the heart of a successful completion. And I would also want to go with her in terms of that spiritual strength. I learned to pull on everything inside of me during this journey, but the discipline in terms of being an administrator, being a leader in your community, having family responsibilities, finding the finances on time and everything, it all came together, but it came together with discipline, with collegial relations, and, you know, a support system that worked.
Oh, great. All right, Kurt? All right, Kurt, are you hearing me now?
Okay, all right. Could you just repeat the question? Could you just repeat? Yeah. I am, yes, I am hearing.
Asking you to sum up your experience with the EdD program. We were asking you if you can speak to the experience.
Well, you know, I must say that it really do. Okay. Yes, it was really eye-opening. Are you hearing me? Yes, it was really eye-opening, and especially as a business owner. You know, I could use the notes immediately in my business, you know, as someone who owned private business, a small business here in the Cayman Islands in education. So one of the things that, since I was doing a course in educational leadership, I found a lot of the courses quite handy, you know, quite useful. You know, I especially enjoyed the emphasis on building 21st century skills, working together, you know, building those.
Yeah, we're having some technical difficulties with Kurt.
Soft skills and stuff like that. I like. Okay, you're not hearing me. Still not hearing me.
Yeah, we want to know, Kurt, so, is it possible for you to reposition yourself in another location where you might be closer?
Yeah, let me try that.
Okay.
Yeah, let me try.
So can you go to Caroline Woodruff Holder?
To use the word time management is probably an understatement, because I don't know if we ever had enough time to manage, basically. It was always chasing an assignment, a deadline. And I believe I had so many nights I came home from work. I worked straight through the night, moved off the sofa, back to the shower, and straight back to work. So it really taught you to be disciplined. You had to be focused because you knew you had deadlines to meet. You also had other commitments that you had to manage. So there were times when I just went from one commitment to the other. But like Janelle said, you had to have a strong faith in God and in your purpose and what you wanted to achieve. And it worked out eventually.
All right, great. Kurt, are you back with us now? Can you?
I am. Hopefully this signal is stronger, but yeah, I was saying earlier that I had to dig away. I had to change some things. You know, there's some things that the course, you know, like some personal things too. You know, things like being more organized. You know, things like being more collegial. You know, trying to work with a team. You know, because I was in the middle of a lot of different things, a lot of different phases. Because as I said earlier, I don't know if you heard me, but I've been in this program for 10 years, meaning that I started with the doctoral program. And, you know, I really enjoyed my experience at UWI to the point where I believe I became, I'm going to use the word, you know, I'm going to use the word addicted to studying and to learning and wanting to improve myself and improve those around me. So, you know what, I really enjoy the process. I'm enjoying the product, because the product is who I am now, this new person that I am.
Great, great. So my next question, and actually we already have a couple of questions on the Facebook page. I'm not sure if any is on the YouTube channel as yet, but we do have a couple of questions on the Facebook page. Before I go to them, I want to ask you, what attracted you guys to this program? Because it was relatively new. So there was no reputation, there was no student who had done the program before. What attracted you to this program?
Okay, so for me, it was the selling point was the fact that it was a taught program. Okay, so I've always wanted to do a doctorate, but I kind of stayed away from having to do like a full research program. And I thought, oh, a taught program in educational leadership, this is, something that I hadn't heard of before. So I jumped at that opportunity. And the second thing that pulled me in was the fact that it was through Open Campus. So, okay, I know I had done some programs with Open Campus before, so I trusted you guys. And it was something that was flexible enough to allow me to continue working while studying. Those were the selling points. And then the cost was reasonable. The cost was reasonable too. When you think about it, in the grander scheme of a doctorate, it was something that seemed reachable.
Okay, great. Paulette, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Open Campus allowed me to reach my higher education aspiration. So when this came on, I was always interested in leadership. I was always interested in being an administrator. I have been in different positions. I did not have an experience with Open Campus before, but when I saw the program and I saw the courses within what I was going to be studying and contributing to, because generally the whole enrichment process, I'm thinking, was one where it was not just so much people teaching to you, but you learning and reporting on your context, you sharing your experiences. And for me, not knowing technology much about it at the time, having to learn that, but to stay at home in Guyana and do that comfortably, that was a real seller for me, and it got me. I bought, paid, and I'm satisfied, and I'm now a proud product.
Like that, I bought, paid, and now I'm satisfied. All right, go ahead, guys.
I think in terms of the program, I would have completed previously one online program, a master's in library studies. And I believe that the educational leadership program would have provided an opportunity to expand my knowledge in higher educational leadership and also to make a more tangible contribution to our educational system. And like Janelle said, I would have explored other options in other universities overseas and so on. But I found that this one was the most affordable, and being online, it meant you didn't have to travel to do any face-to-face aspect of it and so on. So it was affordable and it was attractive.
Okay. Kurt, you're up next.
All right. Well, for me, the thing that attracted me was just that it was UWI. And, I am a Caribbean man at heart. And, UWI has a doctorate. I want a piece of that, Okay. And I know the reputation. I know the hard work. I know the struggle. I know the suffering. And you know what? I know my teacher had no mercy, by the way. But because of all of this, you know what? I could look back on the finished, product. I could look at it and say, you know what? This is masterful. So I really enjoyed it. And the thing that really brought me here to UWI, to stay with UWI all these years, was the rigor. I see myself as a scholar, a budding scholar, and I want to contribute more to the region in this area, in the area academia and so on, And I said, you know what? I want to work with the brightest Caribbean minds. So for me, that was UWI. And that's why I did my doctoral program with UWI.
And here you have some of those bright Caribbean minds right before you on a panel tonight.
Yeah.
All right, so let's look at the program and all of the process. So you would have done a number of courses. What to you was some of the highlights in some of the courses? What courses would you say, when you remember that course, yeah, I really enjoyed that one?
One of the courses that I really enjoyed was the one that looked at quality assurance, because the college is currently going through a period of assessment, and that program really helps us understand the things that we need to go through in order to reach accreditation status. So that was really an eye-opener. It was one of the better courses that I did. I was able to liaise with some of my managers, the deputy principal at the time, Dr. Cheryl Weeks, and so on. And they were able to help me to guide me in the things that we need to look at from a real life perspective in terms of achieving accreditation. So that to me was one of my most enjoyable courses.
Okay.
For me, there was a course that was centered on human capital management, right? I can't remember the exact title of the course, but that one that really dealt with managing human resources in education stood out for me because of my joint passion. So I had a passion for HR as well as educational leadership, and that was perfect. I thoroughly enjoyed that course. There was another that always stood out for me, and that was digital literacy. That was one of the first courses that we did
Yes.
with Dr. Ganza, God rest his soul. And the course was so enlightening. There were so many things that we thought we knew that we never really paid attention to.
Right.
I never forgot that part about, copywriting and Creative Commons and all these things that in all our years of studies, you never really paid too much attention to the details. And that course really set the stage for me for the rest of the program in terms of the quality that was to be expected. It was a well executed course, very engaging, very interesting, and one that I really enjoyed.
All right, thank you. Paulette and Kurt?
I wanted to know if Kurt was going to go before me.
He's a gentleman. He's allowing the ladies first.
But I liked quality assurance. I liked digital literacy. I liked organizational theory. I really enjoyed the course that you spoke to, Janelle, with managing resources. That course really opened my eyes in terms of my institution, my department, my own style, the things that we have there and we don't manage well, and we say we don't have without realizing how much we have. So within our context, it really brought, like, I started to look at everything differently. And I think that's what the course, the doctoral program did for me. I looked at everything in terms of my institution through different lens, and each course had its own richness. So to say one was better than the other, I think they so complemented each other, yeah, and prepared you in your different areas to be leaders.
Awesome stuff. Kurt? Kurt, you're up next.
The thing for me, there are so many. I'm sure my wife wouldn't like to hear me say, study believe it or not, at the library, and that really stood out to me. Courses that I'm very proud of, because in some of the assessments I got like full marks in it, like 100%. And and that was really strange for me, because I've never gotten like full marks at the bachelor's level and at the master's level. And for me to be getting 100% on an assignment, which I still have to this day, I framed, really encouraged me to, in my thesis, my final thesis, to do an evaluation. So what I did was an evaluation of an education program here in the Cayman Islands.
All right, so we are losing Kurt every now and
RTI
then.
program.
Yeah.
Yeah, we looked at instructional leadership, and
all right, so we're losing Kurt there again. I'm not sure what
just the things that we need to do in the Caribbean, in Caribbean school. And third and lastly, because I'm a math person, I thoroughly enjoyed the quantitative method course. So I fell in love with SPSS. Okay. Yes, I did. And I really loved the all things quantitative. So the quantitative course was really a high point for me as well.
All right, thank you so much, guys. I mean, each of you has, so many different highlights and, the courses that you like and enjoyed the most. All right, so let's move on now. Kurt sort of got the ball rolling. So as part of this program, you had to do a research project. Let's talk briefly about that. Kurt, you said you did something about RTI. Could you explain to us what that is?
Yeah, RTI is how to respond to intervention. So what happened is that you have a lot of people who have problem reading, especially children. So we looked on the existing research and realized that it's very important that
All right, Kurt, we're gonna ask you to see if you can move again to another spot where you are to see if the connection could be a little better. So we're going to move on to...
If we want to ensure that adults are able to contribute early into to see if the programs...
All right, so I don't know, Paulette, you wanna go next while Kurt tries to find a better connection spot?
Okay, is that better? You hear me now?
Okay. One of the things I liked with Kurt is that he never gives up. Kurt and I, we were together in different groups for our thesis and the like. Yes. And Kurt was the encourager, the motivator, the pusher. So he gonna find a space, to get us into the right corner and keep his message rolling.
Thank you, Paulette. That was so kind of you. So nice of you to say. Thank you. All right. Are you hearing me much better now, colleagues?
Yes, much better now.
Yeah.
Okay, much better now. Yeah. So, so for my research, I did.
Yes, Kirk is gone again.
And if I...
So, Kurt, what I'm going to ask you to do is probably to log out and try to come back in from a different spot.
Evaluation of art.
So, Kurt?
Yeah,
Kurt, I'm not sure if you heard me. I'm going to ask you to just log out and try and log back in from a different location.
Cayman Islands. So basically...
Yeah, I don't think he's hearing me.
I sent him a message, but I just want to pick up from that to say that I looked at leadership and financial management in higher education. And for me, that was driven by one of the courses that we did, Janelle, that looked at the managing of our resources. And also in part, not only because we had to do leadership, but because I was interested in how you manage your resources that you have and how you are holding yourself and others accountable. And our courses, everything within the program was designed towards accountability in higher education. We are more visible. People are seeing us. We have different stakeholders. Those stakeholders want to know that their students are benefiting, their customers, everything in every aspect of the university or your education community. And hence my interest in seeking to find out how we were managing not only the finances, but all of our resources that are that have a cost. And it helped me to uncover some interesting things about our university and the indigenous nature of it and what we were doing well, what we could improve and the like. So for me, that still is a passion of mine. I'm still wanting to do more work and to share my findings differently, but it really I was satisfied. I don't, it was more than the thesis. It was what I wanted, what I yearned to know, and this was an opportunity to do that. Unmute yourself, please.
Right. What about the other two ladies?
For me, I looked at the first year experience. Having joined the staff in the student affairs office, I had a more direct interaction with students and their needs. And I thought it would be useful to look at the first year experience of students at the college. And that is what I look at. I found that sometimes we felt we knew what students wanted. We felt we knew what made them satisfied and so on. But having explored from a research perspective, I knew that there were things that we need to work on in terms of ensuring that students during the first year were satisfied, because having completed the first year, and it impacted if you would continue towards your second or third year. So that first year experience is critical in any life of a student, whether it is at the college, at the university, and so on. So I thought it was a very useful study to pursue at the time.
All right.
Wow. So like Caroline, I had spent some time in student services. At one point in time, I served as the assistant registrar for student services and student support. And that actually kind of rolled over into my duties as vice dean, because I had a responsibility for student management on campus, clubs and managing general welfare of students from intake to graduation. So my research was focused on attrition and the causes of student attrition, particularly in the first year. So I had no idea we had such similar research topics, Caroline.
Yes,
but yeah,
did,
it really
apparently.
was very interesting coming out of that study, what was uncovered. Sometimes as lecturers and as administrators, we think we know why students drop out. We assume we know. And really getting the information from students present and past was very telling. So that provided me with some real insight.
And what was interesting is that students were very open in their responses, because I did a questionnaire as well as some interviews. I found that students were really open and candid about their experience and were willing to share.
Definitely. And what I also discovered was there was a gap between what students said was the reason they left versus what lecturers thought was the reason they left. So we kind of have to be careful that as administrators and lecturers, we don't go about making assumptions and judging students when their real issues are, completely different from what we assume them to be.
That's correct.
Janelle, I want you to stick on that point for a minute, because as it turns out, about 4 of us on this panel are actually in higher education. And what, according to your research, were some of the main reasons students were leaving the programs?
Okay, so I measured that in comparison to like lecturers and administrators' perception of the reason they left. So on one hand, we had admin and lecturers assuming that the students were leaving because they couldn't have, they weren't engaged, they didn't like to be disciplined and so forth, and that they weren't putting in enough effort, assuming that they didn't have the money and the resources. And then on the other hand, we had students talking about the lack of encouragement that was coming off from admin, students not feeling that they were valued as a part of, and we also talk about students being our customers, right? Students complain that they didn't feel that way. So it didn't matter if they showed up or not, whether they came or not, whether they continued or not, their presence was neither here nor there. So they complained that there was not that level of engagement. And particularly for those students who had to make a decision. Should I come back to college or should I work and feed my kids and take care of myself? You know, after feeling that their presence is neither here nor there, they decided to go and work and earn some money, forget about this college thing. So the dropout rate was high because the lack of engagement led to that attrition, pretty much.
Caroline, were your reasons similar?
What I looked at was the students' experience with the services that were provided, for example, counseling, library services, the services provided by the Students' Guild, and so on. And you would have thought that the Students' Guild would have been the one rating higher in terms of how students felt, in terms of them engaging them during that experience, but it rated one of the lower things in terms of what students expected. We found that the counseling department rated very high in terms of their experience for students, as well as the library services. The student affairs department, which I supervise, that was a bit of an eye-opener because students, in their very open and candid way, they felt that we needed to improve the services that we provided to them. And this is one way that I was able to then look more directly at what we were doing, look at myself internally, look at my staff and the department, and was able to provide some improvements so that students felt more engaged and welcome and so on in terms of the services that we provided.
Really good stuff, really good stuff. My next question, I hope I'm not putting you guys on the spot, but now that you have all this rich, relevant information for these institutions, what are you doing with this information now?
Well, for me, one of the things that students complained about was having to wait for long periods in lines and so on. And I was able to address that directly, where we now have an appointment system where students no longer have to wait for extensive times in terms of registration and so on. I was also part of the process of engineering online payments. Soon from now, we're going to be able to allow students to pay online, pay via our Sure Pay app and so on. So those are things that I recognize were needed. You know, sometimes if you're working, you don't want to come and stand in the whole line, a long line during your lunch hour, you have things to do. So some of the things that students complain about, I was able to put forward to management and help them to see from the students' perspective. And even you as a person, you don't want to go and stand in a long line. So it's things that we ourselves do not want to be part of, that we want to improve for our students.
Awesome. Janelle, were you able to implement any of these changes?
I was able to recommend certain changes for implementation.
Very important distinction, right?
Yes, yes, very important. I did recommend, and I actually was in contact because, as you know, I no longer work with the SVGCC, but I was in contact with my successor for some time following my departure to ensure that, you know, there was some idea of the things that were discovered so that policies and structured programs could be put in place. And from what I've seen, from my knowledge, there has been improvement, significant improvement through the Office of Student Affairs and through the registry. Currently, how I have been contributing is on a wider scale. So I'm now a consultant, and my work now extends not just to one institution, but to helping generally educational institutions and organizations who are interested in developing that component to ensure that, you know, policies are in place that support development of staff and development of educational programs. I think that has been really rewarding so far.
Oh man, I'm so happy. I mean, I'm moved by these stories and so on. It's awesome. Paulette, your research, have you been able to implement any of your findings at the University of Guyana?
Not directly, but I would say indirectly. From the time of the data gathering, I worked with education leaders, and just talking with them and having them participate in the research and sharing some of the preliminary data with them. The language I have seen has changed where
Okay.
my colleagues are speaking differently, are questioning. We're all questioning more about the why. We are looking at how we can do things, in a different way. So I am seeing some of the things, some of those conversations being reflected in senior administrative meetings and the like. So I think the changes started from the whole process of the research,
Great.
and I'm looking forward to doing more because there will be opportunity for more.
Great. Kurt, you're back with us. Welcome back. Your research and the findings, what has become of the findings of your research?
Okay, so my research was submitted to the Cayman Islands Department of Education because, basically it was, well, I had to get their permission and everything to conduct this research and access to all the data and all of that. So it's something that I have submitted it to them, and it's now for them to act on it. It was a good research. It put them in a great light actually, because it says that all that money that they've been spending on intervention for literacy, has been put to good use.
Well spent.
So, but there were some recommendations. There were some recommendations, especially as it pertains to principals, because a major part of that research, although it was an evaluation of RTI, it also looked at what were the implications for principals and school leaders here in the Cayman Islands. So I am sure I am seeing some things, and I would like to think that some of those things are stemming or flowing from that research.
Okay, so believe it or not, guys, we only have 15 minutes remaining, but I mean, you guys have been doing so well and sharing such great information. So there's a number of persons congratulating you all. And I see that our friend, Dr. Woodruff Holder, seemed to have a fan club, because I think I recognize her boss, Roger Worrell. Congrats to all, especially Dr. Carolyn Woodruff Williams, Judith Gill, someone I know. She also says congratulations to all. Proud to know two of the panelists enjoying the discussion. Luzanne Lewis, I agree with you that the digital literacy and technology leadership education should merge, and that that is one of the courses that they really like. And Krishnan Hurdle congratulates you again, Dr. Woodruff Holder, and Luzanne congratulates all her classmates. Now we have a couple questions as well, and I recognize one of the names who have sent one of these questions. What if your background isn't in education or education leadership? Is it still feasible to do a doctorate in education leadership? And I think all of us would say, of course, yes, that's the case. Because Janelle, you had not done education leadership originally, did you? No?
No, I didn't. That was my, I started off doing psychology, right? My bachelor's was in psychology and management. My master's was in occupational health psychology. And then when I returned from studying, I started teaching. And that's when I had to get into education and certify myself. So I got, the diploma in education.
Yeah.
Then I went on, I did some online education programs. And then I decided, it's time for me to really, qualify myself in my area of service.
Yeah.
And that's where the educational leadership. So my CV is all over the place in terms of my academic background, but everything, it's amazing to see how everything has tied in.
Together,
everything has built on something that was learned before to be relevant in executing my duties and in the knowledge that was gained in this program.
Right. One of the other questions, which
Can I just add to that a little bit? To say that my undergrad degree was social work. My postgrad was sociology, and then I moved to education. But the thing is that for all of my assignments, I related it back to, what I was teaching, and I was teaching the social work sociology courses. right? And so all of my professional experiences as a social worker were used in terms of the assignments and everything that I was doing. I spoke to my context.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
I agree with everything that has been said so far. I started out in mathematics, for example. Then I did some, education, and then here I am in educational leadership. And the context was a big part of it. I could easily relate everything back to the mathematics that I've been doing all my life, basically, and also adult education. So it was a great mix. It was the perfect mix. And in education, we have to learn to lead ourselves. So education leadership is not just heading out and saying to people, hey, do this, do that. But this course really helped me to lead myself, teach me how to lead myself, and by doing so, lead others.
Right. And another question that came about in the chat, which by now I'm sure it has been answered, but to just honor the person's wishes, were all of you working and parenting while studying? Now, I know Janelle has a particular story that I want you guys to listen. Janelle, this is your flow now.
All right. So the direct answer to that question is yes. I particularly was a mom of a 1-year-old, and I was pregnant when I started that program. And I mentioned to Sam in another interview, when I had my daughter, which is my second child, it was in the middle of a semester. So we were doing group work. I had my computer on the mat ward after delivery. We were right in it. I remember the baby was in the crib, the baby holding at the bed. And, I was there contributing to the group assignment because we had an assignment that was due. And don't get me wrong, the option was there to request a leave of absence, okay? But for me, it was really just an opportunity to manage, I'm apologizing for the noise, to manage the time effectively. And I really had a lot of group support. So this is to say that the strong support systems don't just fall in your immediate home. Your group members as well provided a great sense of support. So I was there submitting work, raising a newborn, and living life and working and doing all the things that needed to be done.
Hospital you're talking about.
Yes.
Right. Just to clarify.
Yes. So it is doable, and I want to push that support system point. You have to have a solid support system for those persons who are married, and I'm not married, but for those who are married, I imagine you would need your spouses on board, because there are going to be long nights, okay, and long hours where you will have to just dedicate time to getting work done, and your family is going to have to be on board with you to give the support where needed.
Awesome. I mean, I just love that story. One of these days, I'm probably going to make a movie from it or something.
Yes, amazing.
Anybody else had any really awesome experiences that was like off the charts, out of the box?
I don't know if you can call it awesome, but actually during my journey, like Janelle, I had the option of sitting out for a semester or maybe a year because I had an injury to my foot. So I had to have surgery. And I was in the cast for about 3 months. And it was actually during the time when I was supposed to be doing my research and going to do interviews and so on. So I was like, should I stop now? Should I take a break? I was encouraged by my supervisor to, it's best to sit it out and stuff like that. But I thought, no, if I stop now, I'm never going to start back. So I did have that family support where, along with the crutches, I had somebody to help me with my bags, with my books and so on. Awesome. And it was a painful journey at the time, having to learn to walk on crutches and still focus on studying and stuff like that. But it was actually eventually worth it. And not giving up was one of the most awesome things that I did. I thought that giving up would not have been an option at the time, and I didn't give up at the time.
Giving up is never an option, man.
Never.
Never. Yeah, the thing I like to add is that, this course, really, it really made me a better person. And, got to meet, I got a chance to meet so many, stalwarts, and when I say stalwarts, I'm talking about my colleagues throughout the Caribbean, stalwarts, leaders, I learned so much from them. And I just want to thank you to all of you who are listening right now. I just want to say thanks for everything that you've done, all the support. We went through a whole lot, but we got through this together. And if you're in the program right now, just know that there's somebody there who is there with you and for you. And I also want to I also want to speak to the admin staff and the academic staff. I found that the support was excellent.
Great.
I felt like every point of contact within the open campus and outside the open campus too, because it's a single UE, it's a university with students, and a single entity. And what I would like is that I could reach out to people in admin if I had to, and I would hear this friendly. I would feel as if I'm at home with UE, so I really like that. And I like the fact that the tutors went out of their ways sometimes to make sure that we got good grades, and I know it's not because they're being overpaid or they're being paid well, I know it's because they really have UE. I know it's because they really have UE at heart. The reason I can say that is I'm not working with the open campus.
Okay,
yeah, I'm not working with the
We
open
have 5 more minutes, and there's a critical question I want to get through and get you guys to comment briefly. Someone is asking in terms of the comprehensive exam, because as you said, there is a comprehensive exam, and you can explain what it is. How challenging was the comprehensive exam?
Okay, it wasn't very challenging. And to whoever's asking, because I know a lot of persons out there might be in the middle of the program right now and have the exam coming up. The key about that exam is preparing, okay? So it's impossible. I know when you think exam, you think you have to study every single detail that was done. What is important is that you understand the key principles of each course, okay? And that you have literature that would support discussion on critical topics in those courses. The questions that are take home, if that format still exists, it's your opportunity to really gain the marks there, because then you have the time to do your research and so forth. But in the actual exam, if that is still the format, I think it was more challenging thinking about it for me. It was more challenging than the actual exam itself.
Yeah.
And you really just do what you have to do. You just deliver. And after all these years, after all these assignments, trust yourself to do a good project, and you'll be successful. And I just wanted to add real quick, if you're not successful, don't let it be a deterrent, because I must say, I had 2 courses that I had to redo. There was one I had to redo during a difficult time when I experienced the loss of 3 students. And there was another that I had to redo because I was simply not good at statistics. I was no cut, right? So I remember crying that year when I could not finish with my 2015 people. I thought, this is not fair. This is not right. I tried. Right. But listen, you don't get it the first time. You regroup, you go at it again, and you learn from the errors and press on until you're successful.
Giving up is not an option.
Well, when I first heard of the comprehensive exam, that was my biggest fear. How would I be able to recall everything I did for 2 years in a single exam? That was very, very fearful. But like Janelle said, preparation was critical. And going through the actual exam, I found actually it was just myself alone in the exam room with the invigilator. And she had nobody else to look at but me. And there I felt so uneasy, so uncomfortable, because I would have started the journey with some other locals. And because I was ahead at the time, I was the only person doing the exam. And I was like, how do I do an exam alone without their support and without, just being in a room alone? But like Janelle said, preparation was critical, and it was not as difficult as I thought it could be. And I will say that if I could be successful in this program, I think that anybody who undertakes the program can also be successful. It is not unachievable. You have good support, like Janelle said, from the faculty in the program as well as the office staff. They were amazing. I can tell you that the open campus staff at the local campus in Barbados, they are amazing. And so you have all the support that you need, and it is not something that you cannot achieve if you put your mind to it.
And I would say that is the same throughout the region, as testified by both Kurt and Janelle, the support they got from the local open campus countryside. Kudos to you guys in Ox. All right. All right, guys, believe it or not, we have 1 minute, but I'm a generous guy, so I'm going to give each of you 30 seconds. Sorry, before I go, I mean, there's so many kudos coming through on Facebook and so on. I want to read another one from Simone Mitchell Lloyd. Very proud of you all on your achievement. Achieving a doctorate is the highest educational achievement, and it speaks to your level of dedication, commitment, resilience, sacrifice, and ultimate success. That's for you guys. That's really good stuff. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Simone, for those on behalf of the panel. And we dealt with the comprehensive exam. All right, and Charmaine say 100%, whatever point is your time to shine. That is for Kurt. Congrats to you, 100%, your time to shine.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And yeah, okay, so I'm gonna give each of you guys just about 30 seconds to wrap up and encourage others to enroll in this program.
All right, I'm gonna go first this time. I'm just gonna say that, I'm just gonna say that this course was not a walk in the park. So I want you to know that it wasn't a walk in the park. It was a lot of work. It was hard work. The comprehensive exam was like, all right, look at it this way. When you squeeze orange, you get orange juice, right? So the course, you're going to be interrogated, but you know what? The course changes you, and no matter what comes your way, when the pressure comes, the true you is going to come out, the scholar, the brilliant person. So go for it. Go for this program. God bless you all.
Thanks, Kurt. Paulette?
I want to congratulate the Open Campus for offering this program and making it in such a way that it speaks to us in the region, and it speaks to what we can do as scholars within the region. For all of you out there, this is an opportunity for us to learn from amongst us and to speak to our issues and address our different contexts. Go shine. Age is not just a number. I was only able to do it in my 50s. And those of you who are getting an opportunity to grab it, do it now, do well. You know, I am proud of me, so you go be proud of you. God bless.
Thank you very much, Paulette.
Thank you,
Caroline?
What I would first like to say is that throughout the program, there will be persons you will meet who you will need to engage with and depend on. Don't be a stranger to your fellow colleagues. There are some persons throughout the program who I found were very supportive. From the local perspective, there was Cheryl, there was Basil, and then I met Terry Campbell, there was Candice, there was Janelle. We did group projects together. And there are some others along the way who I engaged with, and they were all very supportive. So what I would encourage is that you don't think that you're alone in the journey. You reach out to your fellow students and you share. One of the things that we benefited from is sharing with each other, sharing and giving. And that is the key to our success.
All right, Janelle, you have the last word.
All right, so just to encourage everybody who's thinking about doing it but might think, oh, I don't have the funds, the payment options are very flexible. The support from the Open Campus team is exceptional, and it's really going to be a journey that you will find pretty worthwhile, not just for your professional and academic development, but personally as well. Excellent opportunities to network and to grow and to contribute to the development of education in our region.
All right, so I just want to say thank you so much to you guys, and I'm going to address you by your proper titles. Dr. Janelle Allen, Dr. Kurt McKenzie, Dr. Caroline Woodruff Holder, and Dr. Paulette Henry. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to you on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube who have helped us to make this program so successful. I wish you guys all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you, Dr.
Thanks
Sam.
for
Thank you,
having
Dr.
us.
Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you,
For
Dr.
the
Sam.
Open Campus
Take care.
team, for the Open Campus team, I have been Cleveland Sam. I want to say thanks especially to my team in the background, David Foster, Patrick Johnson, Cherise Glasgow, and all the others, Marcia Reed and Richard Bath, who have been taking your questions and sending them to me. Until next time, remember, the next time you're going to see me online is tomorrow at 7 on UWTV, as well as the Open Campus platforms, where we would feature the Open Campus and the University of the West Indies response to the volcanic eruption in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Don't miss it. Until then, I'm Cleveland Sam. Have a good evening.
Thank you, colleagues. We are offline.